thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us.
I need to know about this.
3, 2, and 1. We're about to go in.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. Oh, wait. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Oh, son of a bitch. It disappeared. It disappeared. Oh, man. Hold on 1 second, you guys. Hold on. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Let me check it.
Bwomp, 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 bwomp. False start, everyone.
Oh, man. Good morning, everybody.
Whoa, what is that music?
What Jason gets ready to.
What happened? Jason got up and left the desk immediately.
It must be the teleprompter.
Yeah, the teleprompter's not working this morning.
How's he going to know what day of the week it is?
Elias, is that what's going on, the teleprompter?
Yeah, I guarantee it is. If he got up...
Yeah, it wouldn't let me log in this morning. It was weird.
The old
It just wouldn't let me
teleprompter.
connect to it.
Jason says son of a bitch and just gets up and walks away.
We're on.
All right, you guys. All right.
Okay.
All right.
All right, welcome back, Jason.
I heard
Welcome
you guys have lots of jokes, and lots of antics.
Hey, man,
That's
we
cute.
got to fill this dead air somehow.
Yeah, I'm
dude.
with it. Bro, I'm here for all the jokes. Well, anyways, thank you all for joining us. It is Friday, October 10th, and today is National Angel Food Cake Day.
Yeah, baby, and with some strawberries.
Yes. It's also National Cake Decorating Day.
Let's go
Okay.
together.
I mean, it does. I don't know. You don't really decorate an angel cake, right? You know, you
But maybe we should.
just put a
maybe.
dollop of whipped cream on top and some berries and...
You don't put
Whipped
wings.
cream and strawberries.
You don't put wings on your
Strawberry
angel
shortcake.
cake.
Put what?
Wings on your angel cake.
All right, Jason, keep it rolling. What else
Cute.
is it?
Whatever. Oh, this is for you, Jenny Beth. You'll love this. It's National Handbag Day.
Oh, yeah, I do love that.
Mhm.
The Birkin.
And I was about to say it's a Birkin Day. Oh my goodness.
It's a Birkin day. I love that you love how much I love that bag.
And since it's National Birkin Day, it's also National Walk to the Park Day with your Birkin bag, apparently.
You probably shouldn't walk around in parks with Birkins.
Depends on where you live, actually. Parks over here are
That's
pretty
true.
safe.
That's true. Here, I can do that.
Yeah. Can't do that like Central
LA?
Park. Yeah, Los Angeles, no way. No,
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that around at UCLA.
Yeah, exactly.
Downtown.
Exactly.
No.
No, I don't know.
And Dr. Mark, you'll love this one. It's National Metric Day.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, about that.
Yeah, because kilos are greater than pounds, right?
We should all love that because you know what I mean?
It's not metric, Jenny Beth. It's metric.
Kilos are not greater than pounds.
I fully
Kilos
understand
are greater
that,
than pounds, bro.
but
Yes, they
I don't
are.
know. Last time,
Yeah.
A kilo is 2.2.
2.2.
Oh,
Yes.
I flipped it in my head. Yeah.
Yeah. Jeez, Jesse. Jeez. We're going to have to take Jesse
Dude,
back
I
to
don't
math
give a
class.
shit about metric, bro.
Oh, man. It's the metric system,
that's
Jesse.
A
It's the
cannabis
metric
joke for you.
It's the metric system, Jesse. The metric system, Jesse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mary had a little gram.
I
Yeah.
get it.
Yes.
Yep.
Mary
Yep.
had a little Graham was cute. That's a cute
Yep.
one, Dr. Mark.
The only metric I give a crap about is 450 grams.
454.
Yes, 454.359 technically.
You know, you can debate that. It's 454 or what is it, 457?
No, it's 453.359 or something like that.
Isn't
Yeah,
there
and you
another
round it up
number
and go to
too?
454, but
Yes.
people have been selling 452 because they suck.
Troy's got me. I'm failing. It's true.
People mostly sell 448s. That's what they because 12.
Exactly.
Yeah, 28 times 16 is 448. That's how they get that.
Yeah, and
Most
that
people
means
can't
they're
do math.
That's what I was thinking of. It's been a long time.
Yeah, well, all right. So
Oh, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. That's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website, www.high9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And man, you guys, Senator Tillis from North Carolina, he's asking AG Pam Bondi to investigate the Cherokee marijuana business in North Carolina, you guys. That's right. Attorney General Pam Bondi told Senator Tom Tillis don't mess with that. Told Tom Tillis the Department of Justice would look into allegations he made that the Eastern Band of Cherokee is marketing marijuana to children and moving product outside the tribe's boundaries in violation of federal law. By U.S. Senate Committee, the Judiciary, Attorney General Pam Bondi told Senator Tom Tillis the Department of Justice would look into allegations he made that the Eastern Band of Cherokee is marketing its marijuana products to children and moving them outside the tribe's boundary in violation of federal law. Tillis, a Republican from Huntersville, spoke to Bondi about concerns he has regarding the tribe's marijuana business during a Tuesday hearing of the Senate Committee of the Judiciary, and he brought with him poster boards showing an aerial view of the tribe's cannabis farm. The logo from an app the tribe uses to sell its product and advertisements of its fall-flavored cannabis. Tillis told Bondi he had 3 concerns regarding the business: marketing the marijuana to youth, advertising on an app that indicates delivery to the buyer, and that the tribe would have to transfer the marijuana outside of the boundary to get it from the farm to the tribe's dispensary. Senator says, Pam Bondi says this. Senator, I will absolutely have my team look at that issue, Bondi told Tillis. But Mitchell Hicks, the tribe's principal chief, denied the allegations Tillis made throughout the hearing. Tillis knows full well that the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians operates squarely within the law, and yet once again he has chosen to ignore that truth to advance his own political agenda. In a quote, "Our operations are fully compliant with federal and tribal law, guided by safety, transparency, and accountability," Hicks said. Senator Tillis' attacks are not about legality, they are about ego. To suggest the EBCI would endanger children through marketing or sales practices is inaccurate, and it is offensive to the values that guide our tribe. Tillis stressed both during Tuesday's hearing and during a Wednesday interview with McClatchy that he is not against the tribe selling marijuana, but he does believe that how the tribe is going about it brings up broader issues that need to be addressed nationwide. Hicks said his tribe will not be drawn into petty politics or ego-driven theatrics. Our focus remains on governing responsibility, protecting our heritage, and strengthening the future of our people and our partners across North Carolina and Indian country, Hicks said. Tribal disputes in this highlight a whole other side of this, because Tillis is a staunch supporter of the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina, a group of 55,000 members living in Robinson, Hokie, Scotland, and Cumberland counties. It's the largest tribe east of the Mississippi River and the 9th largest in county, and the Lumbee and the Eastern Band of Cherokee, located in the western North Carolina, have had a tumultuous relationship. The Lumbee have fought since 1888 for federal recognition, while the Cherokee have deployed lobbyists to work against them. Congress provided the Lumbee federal recognition back in 1956, but specified that the tribe would not receive the typical benefits afforded to a tribe with this distinction, leaving the Lumbee fighting for full recognition ever since. Many believe that since Congress made this decision, it would take an act of Congress to reverse it, and the Cherokee argue that the Lumbee should go through the Bureau of Indian Affairs instead. Tillis is frustrated that the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians continues to stand with tribal nations across the country to defend our culture, sovereignty, and history against groups like the Lumbee, who seek federal recognition through false claims and political horse trading rather than the historical truth, Hicks said. And if there's any question whether Tillis's loyalty to the Lumbee is coloring his view of his issue with the Cherokee, he answered that without question during McClathy's interview with him. I'm going after the Cherokee because they're part of the casino cartels, and they're trying to keep the Lumbee, who have deserved recognition for over 130 years, Tillis said. We're going to go to the mat for them. The Eastern Band of Cherokee originally operated the only casino in North Carolina, and the Catawba Nation opened in 2021. Its own casino in Kings Mountain, and many believe the Lumbee might open their own if they receive federal benefits. But they also say no teleportation option for marijuana transport, you guys, because the 57,000-acre koala boundary is located about 50 miles west of Asheville. The Eastern Band of Cherokee is advertising in Charlotte that the tribe owns one of the country's largest dispensaries. And Tillis said people don't realize that when they buy marijuana from the tribe, they are not permitted to leave to the boundary with the product. Marijuana remains illegal in North Carolina and in every state around North Carolina with the exception of Virginia, but tribes are considered sovereign nations and are allowed to make their own rules regarding marijuana. When the Cherokee allowed cannabis sales beginning on July 4th, 2024, Tillis said Senator Ted Budd, a Republican from Davie County, both raised concerns that it would be transported away from the tribal area, and Hicks said the letter made false claims that cannot withstand scrutiny. Tillis told McClatchy that there has to be a national framework for rules around dispensaries, and in a quote says, "We need to get rid of flavorings, eliminate Chinese imports, and let states opt in if they choose to have rules of the road with excise tax and everything else," Tillis said. Tillis' concerns about the transport of the product doesn't just end at those who are buying cannabis. He asked Bondi on Tuesday if she's familiar with the science of teleportation, adding that he doesn't believe it's been perfected yet, and the problem is that I can't find any legal way to get this pot that is grown here to the dispensary that is on another non-contiguous area of the land of the boundary, Tillis told Bondi. I'm just trying to figure out how the Eastern Band of Cherokee are legally transporting what they're growing at scale here to what they're advertising in Charlotte on billboards as one of the country's largest dispensaries. And apparently also offering to buy it online. Bondi assured Tillis that she would answer his questions whether there's not a there, or that they do have something that does not seem to comport with federal law. In the second time Tillis asked an attorney general to look into the dispensary, Tillis asked Budd to send a letter in 2024 to then Attorney General Merrick Garland, raising similar issues, and Tillis said he never heard back. Bondi confirmed to Tillis on Tuesday that based on federal law, it would be illegal for the product to be transported away from the boundary. But then you also have the Buckies of pot. That's right, because Tillis told Bondi he's also concerned because it appears the tribe is preying on younger people. He pointed to one of his poster boards showing flavored cannabis, including pumpkin spice. This kind of feels to be like the way the tobacco industry got attacked for advertising to people, Tillis said. We already know, incidentally, that we have a vape problem around here, and particularly among young people, and this worries me because it's a money-making enterprise. Tillis told McClatchy he's not happy with how the tribe is marketing the product, and in a quote says, I mean, gosh, when you're doing the ads in Charlotte, one of the country's biggest dispensaries, and you've got a really cute app, and you're advertising all these fruity names and everything, and you're an island. I mean, unless you're going there and having one hell of a weekend, We all know that people are taking it and bringing it back, Tillis said. People need to know the minute they leave the boundary, they're breaking the law. Hicks seized on the description of the tribe as being on an island and said, he's right about one thing. We are an island, and we are a stronghold of culture, integrity, and self-determination. Yet, we are not afforded real representation from his office. From the heart of our ancestral homeland, we stand as a model of how sovereignty and economic development can coexist with respect for state and federal law, the environment, and our neighbors. Tillis said he's not hearing from law enforcement that people go there and they think because they can buy it there legally, they can transport it, Tillis said. It's almost like the Buc-ee's of pot. Buc-ee's is a well-known southern chain of travel store stops that includes the world's largest convenience store at 75,593 square feet and the world's longest car wash with 255-foot conveyor. It's a large fan following and can draw long lines of people waiting to check out the hype. And a quote, "There are people lined up there. Traffic has stopped. It's amazing," Tillis said of the tribe's dispensary. "I'm not an anti-cannabis person, but you've got to do it legally." Well, you guys. Man, the Buckleys of cannabis. He's going after the nations.
Long. And, I mean, like, listen, if they're advertising pumpkin spice, they're not advertising to children, they're advertising to basic white bitches.
I was going to say that.
So let's be real about what they're advertising to. That's their target market for those.
That's fair.
And, you know, it just, tribal sovereignty gets messy when you're looking at licensing, when you're looking at cannabis, especially in a state where it's still illicit. So every license that I've done on tribal lands, they've had to waive tribal sovereignty because it is a state-sponsored program. But when there's no state-sponsored program, then what do we do with this, and how far can they go? I mean, if I was Pam Bondi, I would probably go ahead and deal with it. But if I was the state of North Carolina, I would say, wait, they're making all this money and we're not, and start working on an actual state program.
Well, this is the thing, Jenny Beth, is that when they leave, it still technically is legal because it's all THCA until they actually smoke it.
I mean, I don't think so, Jason.
I do.
I mean, I hear you, but I feel like this is going to become problematic. And he's such an idiot. I feel like it's really funny that the guy that has an issue, his name is Ted Budd. I wonder if he knows he has a cannabis company in California.
Don't tell him that. Don't tell him that. He'll sue him over that.
I didn't hear anything in the article about proof or evidence. I heard allegations.
Put up a billboard, so I mean.
Yeah, they have a billboard, Jesse.
But I'm looking for this evidence of this billboard and not finding it. I've been searching for advertisements in Charlotte, which was what they said of the Great Smoky Cannabis Company, which is the company that they're targeting here. That's the dispensary that's owned by these Cherokee people. And I'm not finding any online evidence of what they're talking about. And I don't see any evidence represented in the article. All I see is an allegation of a billboard.
How's their app? Have you checked that?
Yeah, I mean, I've tried to look like Leafly and Weed Maps and different things that they're advertising on. It all points to their dispensary that's on their land. So did they have an ad in Charlotte that asked you to go to their land? Like, what's wrong with that? I don't see.
I think what he's saying is because they're advertising as that you can go and buy it, that ultimately they're going to leave with it, and he's saying that once they leave the federal land, once they leave the tribal land, then all of a sudden then it becomes a legal substance to carry and maintain and transport. I think that's what he's kind of getting at. It seems like
a real stretch for the DOJ to be involved with.
I think it's I think it
sounds like a state issue. This sounds like something that the state should be dealing with, not the DOJ. Pam Bondi's got way bigger fish to fry than this. Why is she even involved with this? This just sounds like there's something else going on. My grandma is half Cherokee, so I have a little bit of familiarity with the tribe. They are the richest tribe in the lower 48. for sure. And they have been very, very smart as a tribe, both the Oklahoma and the eastern side. And they have saved their money, and every negotiation that they've made with the federal government has been really smart. And other tribes are extremely jealous of them. So there's a lot of infighting on that level, and I'm seeing some hints of that going on inside this article. It just seems there's something else going on. This doesn't seem like it's the surface value of what this article is actually saying.
Well, I find it interesting that they're highlighting the fact that Senator Tillis is going after him because he has a deeper affection for the Cherokee Nation over this other nation, which I find very, very interesting.
Well, that makes more sense because they have more money to lobby.
Yeah,
I mean, and they have traditionally been that, and that's what I'm pointing at. So it seems like there's more, this is more of a political fight. Like there's hints in this article, and people are saying inside the article that this is more petty politics or ego-driven theatrics. And I think that is probably more what it is.
I think
it doesn't seem like they're doing anything actually illegal. Like they can't advertise to bring people to their land to consume on their store.
I'm with you.
I think the only thing illegal that they would technically be doing is they're taking it from one of their lands across not their land to another one of their lands where their dispensary is located. So it's located, I think it's the transport between the properties. But I think it's really funny that I just tried to find the billboard too, and all I could find was Tom Tillis like pointing very angrily at all of his visual aids, and it was pretty hilarious. But yeah, the only issue is the transportation between sovereign land to sovereign land.
But that, again, that's very tricky, and it doesn't, like, does the DOJ really need to be spending time on this?
I agree.
I think that they called the DOJ in because the state doesn't know how to handle it, right? Like, because they have sovereignty.
Well, I think
the sovereignty is, the agreement for sovereignty is with the federal government.
That's not why I think. That's not why I think it. I think that the road that leads to the tribal land is probably only one road that goes there, and it's probably a federal highway. That would make more sense to me. Of why they would have jurisdiction. Tricky. Of why they would have jurisdiction. That would make more sense to me.
Either way, this has been a long story.
Doctors, you have any thoughts on this?
Well, this seems to be a fight over scraps. The real industry in North Carolina is the hemp industry. The stores are rapidly growing. People are not going to go to the Cherokee Nation or whatever the other one, Lupa Nation is. They're not going there to get their cannabis. These guys don't realize that the industry's passing them by as they're fighting over scraps.
Yep. Good point on that. All right, well, on that, we're going to roll into our first commercial, and we're going to be right back. Oh, and we're back. Dr. Mark, you had something that you wanted to say. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I just wanted to say that, North Carolina is a large tobacco producing state. So it's just good to see, some of those tobacco fields now, hemp fields.
Yeah. Very true. Very, very, very true. Well,
that's a good thing.
I'm with you. Well, I have one more political story for you today.
Oh boy.
Yes, because Trump's drug czar nominee sidesteps questions on cannabis rescheduling. President Donald Trump's nominee to be the White House top drug policy advisor avoided providing her position on cannabis rescheduling and medical cannabis legalization when pressed by a pair of U.S. senators. Sarah Carter, the president's pick to be the director of the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, better known as the ONDCP, merely said she would comply with all federal laws and fulfill all statutory responsibilities if confirmed. These answers, published this week, were responses to written questions for the record for the QFR from Senate Judiciary Committee members in a follow-up to her nomination hearing before the committee on September 17th. In a quote, on an episode of your podcast, The Sarah Carter Show, you stated that you supported the legalization of medical marijuana. Senator Dick Durbin, Democrat from Illinois, wrote in his QFR, specifically, you said cannabis for medical purposes and medical reasons is a fantastic way of managing cancer and other illnesses and related side effects. If confirmed as ONDCP director, will you work to legalize medical marijuana on the federal level? Durbin, who serves as the Senate Democratic whip, was referring to Carter's November 2023 podcast when she said she doesn't have any problem with cannabis being legalized and motorized. That doesn't make sense. Monetized. Monetized, yes. In a quote, she says, if confirmed as director, I will comply with all federal laws and fulfill all statutory responsibilities of the ONDCP, Carter wrote in her response to Durbin. I will also work with the interagency to ensure all examination of all facts and evidence as part of any scheduling or policy actions. Durbin also asked her if she supports the rescheduling of cannabis, and she repeated her previous answer. Senator Cory Booker, Democrat, New Jersey, also asked Carter about the rescheduling proposal that was initiated under President Joe Biden's administration, with former Attorney General Merrick Garland signing a proposed rule to reclassify cannabis from a Schedule I to a Schedule III drug under the Controlled Substances Act. In a quote, as you are aware, under the Controlled Substances Act, the CSA, the rescheduling process begins when the Department of Health and Human Services conducts a scientific evaluation and makes a recommendation to the Drug Enforcement Administration, Booker wrote in his QFR. Throughout the existence of the CSA's rescheduling process, the DEA has never rejected a recommendation by HHS to reschedule a substance. In an additional quote, who do you believe is better suited to conduct the scientific and medical evaluations of drugs? Prosecutors or scientists and doctors? Carter repeated her previous response, answering to Booker, as stated at the hearing, if confirmed, I will work with all relevant interagency stakeholders to ensure an examination of all facts and evidence, she wrote. Under the CSA, scientists and doctors use a comprehensive approach in balancing potential risks and benefits of any substance, and the HHS Secretary provides a recommendation to the Attorney General. After conducting its scientific and medical evaluation under Biden, the HHS determined in August of 2023 that cannabis has low abuse potential and has currently accepted medical use in the United States, recommending that it be reclassified as a Schedule III substance. While Garland endorsed this recommendation, the DEA under former Administrator Annie Milgram never did. And the current rescheduling process has been stayed for the past 9 months by an interlocutory appeal granted by a now retired DEA administrative law judge, whom Milgram tasked with overseeing a fair and transparent hearing process for proponents and opponents to debate the merits of the proposed rule. A pair of cannabis rescheduling proponents requested the interlocutory appeal in part because of the DEA's hostility toward the proposed rule. Under Trump's DEA administrator, Terry Cole, who was sworn in on July 23rd, the agency still hasn't made progress to resume the hearing process, and DEA attorneys submitted their third 90-day update on October 6th to say that no briefing schedule has been set to address the introductory appeal. In other words, no progress has been made for 9 months. The lack of progress comes despite Cole testifying during his nomination hearing in April that reviewing where the DEA is in the administrative process to reschedule cannabis would be one of my first priorities. As Cole has yet to make good on that promise, Booker pressed Carter further in his QFR and says, if you are confirmed, would you assign more weight to a scheduling recommendation from HHS based on its scientific and medical evaluation of a drug rather than the DEA's opinion? Booker asked. And he says, as stated at the hearing, I support the process under the CSA, and if confirmed, I will work with all relevant interagency stakeholders to ensure an examination of all facts and evidence, Carter wrote in a response. Carter's vague responses were expected, and while she has let her opinions on cannabis shine loudly in the past as a former Fox News contributor, federal restrictions prevent the ONDCP from supporting the legalization of a Schedule I substance ahead of U.S. Food and Drug Administration's approval. These restrictions restrictions also prevent the ONDCP from financing or sponsoring research related to medical or adult use cannabis under its current control status. And while the U.S. House of Representatives Dina Titus, a Democrat from Nevada, and Ilhan Omar, Democrat from Minnesota, introduced the Evidence-Based Drug Policy Act of 2025 in April to move these restrictions, Carter, if confirmed, will be unable to speak freely on cannabis reform until this legislation or other legislative fix is implemented. And in addition, Carter, Cole, and Attorney General Pam Bondi have yet to provide the American people with any clarity on which direction the cannabis rescheduling question will unfold in the absence of a decision from up top. Trump told the nation on October 11th at White House press briefing that his administration would determine whether to reschedule cannabis from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 substance, and over the next few weeks. 2 months later, that timeline has come and gone. And leading up to his election, Trump signaled back in September of 2024 that he would support cannabis rescheduling. And however, during his August 2025 press briefing, the president offered mixed signals. I wouldn't say that, but whatever. And they say, in a quote, "Some people like it, some people hate it," Trump said. "Some people hate the whole concept of marijuana because it does bad for the children and it does bad for the people that are older than children. But we're looking at reclassification and we'll make a determination over the next, I would say, over the next few weeks. And that determination, hopefully, will be the right one," he says. Well, you guys. I don't expect Sarah Carter to have said anything different on this. Her hands are kind of tied, and I think that she actually answered it widely. And I think by the fact that these senators are pointing to her comments that she previously made, she's already stated her opinion, so why does she need to state it for the record? And I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Do we pay these politicians for all this BS that they're doing?
Not right now. Not well. Yeah, actually, we pay the politicians. There was a bill that was introduced, Dr. T, so that federal congressional members would not receive pay during a budgetary shutdown. So currently we do, but
Yeah, none of this has any consequence to the people. I mean, the people, 90% approve cannabis, at least medically or for health and wellness, and they're getting it. They have access to it. So your decisions are inconsequential, is what I would say to those regulators who are battling over when they're going to reschedule. It's de facto descheduled with the hemp industry, and so people have access to it.
Yeah. I feel you, bro. I feel you. Dr. Mark, what do you think about this? Her hands are kind of tied,
Yeah. And, right. So, like Dr. T said, with the Farm Bill, it just doesn't make sense. And it just seems like lip service. Seems like they're, talking in circles, and it just never really amounts to nothing other than these little, blips in the news. Yeah, I saw just on a related note, just saw something around descheduling and said that, again, they don't view descheduling as ultimately being the solving issues with the banking problems either, because, again, banks can choose to do business with whoever they want. I guess the point is that FDIC insured institutions cannot do work with companies that are dealing with a Schedule 1 substance, right? Isn't that the whole issue?
Well, yeah, and Jenny can probably explain this probably better than anyone, but it basically has to do with compliance issues and them being able to prove that they're not, participating in money laundering organizations or whatnot, and sales of a Schedule 1 drug would be conceived as money laundering.
Right. And so, but doesn't hemp just upset that apple cart altogether?
A little bit, but not. I mean, they're still throwing hemp into the category of high risk, and so a lot of the risk departments in the backside of the banks will not open those accounts either. So there's tiered levels.
Jenny, something that we talked about a few weeks ago on High at Night News, and I think Jason poo-pooed this, but it appeared to have legs, which is that Agrify is on the NASDAQ, and they are plant touching, right? I mean, so plant touching entity now that has a slot on the NASDAQ where people are buying and selling shares. So
I mean, UCAN was publicly traded, and they were also plant touching, right? But I think that it comes down to the bank's decision making at that point. Like banks that are willing, usually credit unions or smaller banks that are willing to work with cannabis companies, are still tiering those accounts, right? So whether you are plant touching, whether you are hemp, or whether you are just an MRB, a marijuana related business, so they're still tiering those accounts out. And I've still had, I've a consulting company, and I've had so many bank accounts shut down that I'm just like, cool, I'll dig a hole and bury the money in the backyard at this point. So I think it's still going to come down to the banks just saying the risk is too high, but the federal government is not allowing it because it's a Schedule I drug. Yeah.
Jesse, Dr. T, any thoughts on this before we move on?
I just think at this point, 2 months in after Trump's announcement, that there's something going on here. It feels like they're seeing what the industry will do and where the motion will go with this kind of announcement, and what kind of. It's like they're stirring the pot.
Well, I think the pot's going to continue to get stirred, Jesse, because I just saw a post on X this morning that the government shutdown is not going to open up until far later this month, and the Democrats won't even allow for a vote for the government to reopen until after the No King's Day protest on Saturday the 18th.
Oh no, you're confused, Jason. It's not the Democrats that are doing that. It's definitely the Republicans.
I don't know.
I'm joking. They're the ones that did do the shutdown, and they're blaming it on the Republicans, which is so funny.
Oh, they each just blame each other. That's the blame game.
It is.
They literally did do it. So.
From the Dem point of view, they got the White House, they got the Supreme Court, they got the Senate, they got the House of Reps. How is this the Democrat shutdown, right?
Well, they were responsible. They were responsible actually for the shutdown. They could have voted for the continuing resolution, and they chose not to.
You guys gone to any government websites lately?
The Republicans have the majority. Why do they need a single Democrat? They don't. Come on.
No, they need a specific amount of votes that's more than the majority.
Yeah, you need more than the majority to pass a continuing resolution. Yeah,
the Republicans did vote for it.
So, for example, on the Housing and Urban Development website right now, there's a really cute pop-up and a banner that says, "The radical left in Congress shut down the government. HUD will use available resources to help Americans in need." And then you click that little click off. The radical left in Congress shut down. It's fucking. I love how petty 2025 in the government is. This is fucking phenomenal. Whoever's running the Homeland Security website and HUD, you guys, kudos to your web design people. You're fucking petty, and I love you for it.
It's awesome.
Hilarious.
It is.
The meme warfare is off the charts.
It is. And I guess that's the one solemn is we do get to laugh through all of the turmoil and all of the chaos, is at least if we can get some laughs, because we're obviously not getting checks or anything else like that while the government shut down. And on that, we are going to roll right into Dr. Jean Talleyrand. He's the founder of the CESC and of Medican, where you can get your doctor's recommendations all the time, all day, 24/7 a day, 7 days a week. And guess what? Medican is not shut down due to this government shutdown. That's right. It is none other than Dr. Jean Talleyrand.
You're absolutely right. Wait, am I on?
Yeah, you're on, baby.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You're absolutely right. We care for the people.
That's right.
We're not into petty fights.
That's right. We for the people, baby.
So here we go. All right. Happy Friday, everyone. My story today comes from Marijuana Moment. The soil cannabis is grown in affects THC, CBD, and terpene levels. Federally funded study shows by Aaron Houston. According to a new federally funded study, bioactive compounds in cannabis are significantly impacted by the chemical composition of the soil the plants are grown in. The outcome of this study provides outdoor growers with information on the effects soil health can have on cannabinoid and terpene content in hemp, researchers wrote in a paper appearing in a recent issue of the Journal of Medicinally Active Plants, great name, a peer-reviewed scientific publication. Poor soil quality appears to result in higher levels of THC production, whereas higher soil quality may result in higher levels of CBD and the precursor CBG. This finding suggests that farmers may be able to fine-tune cannabinoid levels with soil conditions and management, not just genetics. The study was funded by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, Penn State College of Medicine, and the state licensed medical marijuana business PA Options for Wellness. Researchers aimed to compare two cannabis cultivars, Tangerine and CBG stem cell, that's the name of the cultivar, grown separately with cover crops compared to conventional tillage fields. Two cultivars of hemp specifically look at the tilth aspect of the soil health, a conventional field filled with soil and a no-till field. The Tangerine cultivar grown in conventional soil produced CBD levels about 1.5 times higher than those grown in, than those grown in, where am I? Sorry about that, guys. Here it is.
It's all about the
1.5
soil.
times higher than those grown in cover crop soil, but in the CBG stem cell variety, the opposite was true. CBD levels doubled in the cover crop field. The precursor cannabinoid, CBG was 3.7 times higher in plants grown with cover crops, while THC, the main psychoactive compound in cannabis, was up to 6 times higher in plants from the tilled field. The scientists concluded that significant differences in cannabinoid content were observed between field types and cultivars, notably CBD levels. Soil health essentially refers to the environment in which the plant is grown. The soil's biological life can directly shape the production of cannabinoids and terpenoids that the plant uses for defense, communication, and competition. So soil itself is an ecosystem of microbes, fungi, minerals, and organic matter that feeds and communicates with plant roots. Practices like cover cropping and no-till farming are known to enhance this biological web, improving carbon retention and nutrient cycling. The new study adds chemical composition of the resulting plants to a list of factors potentially shaped by soil. This is the first study to show differences in extract composition of outdoor cultivated hemp grown in different soil conditions, the paper notes. This comes as more attention is paid to best practices for growing cannabis. Earlier this year, an industrial farmer said expanding the hemp supply chain in South Dakota will bring more small processes and manufacturing into the state and pull heat trapping carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. How cannabis is handled after harvest, specifically how the plant is dried before packaging, can have a significant impact in product quality, including with respect to preserving terpenes and trichomes, according to a pair of recently published white papers. Some of this information is already known by farmers in Northern California who have grown for decades with trial and error practices. Shout out to Snowtill and Soul Spirit for their no-till and regenerative growing methods. I find it fascinating that more THC is produced in stress soil for certain cultivars and that CBD increases in healthy soil. It speaks to the importance of terroir, where plants are grown, and the cultivar that is used may be important in producing the highest quality flowers. What do you think? Will there be a Champagne region for cannabis? This is Dr. Jean Talleyrand with High at 9 News.
Well, the soil is important, apparently. It's a big deal. Gets a lot of the nutrients.
And yes, terroir matters. I think that there already is. Justin tried to make the argument a long time ago for terroir and kind of bring NorCal cannabis values back up using that argument. And yeah, absolutely, your drying process, like your curing process, will make or break your product. So your post-harvest is probably one of the most important steps, other than, yeah, I mean, it's pretty much one of the most important steps, because you can do everything right and then rush something or bucket in the wrong way and leave it for too long and you've ruined it. So yeah, post-harvest matters, you guys.
Mm-hmm. Post-harvest does matter, that is for sure.
I love this
What was
story.
interesting to me is that the poor soil quality was producing more THC rather than the healthier soil quality, which was producing more CBD. So maybe the stress of the plant gets more THC production. I don't know. It was
I wonder, Dr. T, do you think that that's possibly due to the fact that cannabis and hemp, you know what I'm saying, that they're the type of plants that suck the bad stuff out of the earth, and then they're converting that into THC?
Maybe. I mean, I'm sure there's a chemical explanation too, but we'll take yours.
Dr. Mark's shaking his head.
Oh God, there's so much to unpack here.
Oh, please.
Where to even begin? Okay, so
Take it from the topsoil, Dr. Mark.
plants rely on biochemical pathways to make secondary metabolites, right?
Mm-hmm.
Secondary metabolites are like the cannabinoids and the terpenes and the isoflavonoids and all those. Those are what are called secondary metabolites, right? So in a plant, you need a biochemical pathway, and the molecular machines, who actually are proteins, are called enzymes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And enzymes are basically proteins that carry out chemical reactions in a biological system like a plant. So let's talk about proteins. Proteins are made of amino acids, right? Amino, right? Amine. You hear the word amine in there?
Yeah.
That's nitrogen, right?
Protein makes you tough.
So where does that nitrogen come from, right? And nitrogen, so the air that's around us is 79% nitrogen, right? That's N2, right? So there's a lot of nitrogen around. However, it's not soluble nitrogen, right? It's not soluble, right? Because it's just a gas, right? It's inert. In fact, when I run chemical reactions down in my laboratory, I'll sometimes sweep out the inside of the reaction vessel with nitrogen because it's inert, unlike the oxygen that's in air, right? Okay, so because nitrogen is inert, it's difficult biologically to turn nitrogen that's abundant in the atmosphere into soluble nitrogen to create proteins, or to create amino acids, which then make peptides, which then make proteins. Proteins basically are the machines in the biochemical pathway that make the secondary metabolites that we're measuring, right? Are you following me, everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Right? So a plant relies on, in kind of like a symbiotic way, microbes in the soil that have had the time course of evolution to figure out how to fix nitrogen. When I say fix nitrogen, that's how to turn nitrogen in the atmosphere into soluble nitrogen that they can turn into amino acids, that they can turn into peptides, that they can turn into proteins, that could make the enzymes that create the molecules that we all love in cannabis, right? Right? So what that means is that when you have a healthy soil, and when I'm talking about healthy soil, they refer to it as a living soil. That means there are microbes and fungi that are down there that are fixing nitrogen, right, from the air and turning it into soluble nitrogen. So we all know that fertilizers is basically a way of supplementing nitrogen into the field, right? And it was through the Haber process that was invented by a chemist named Haber centuries ago now, that figured out how you can make ammonia from nitrogen, right? And it's through this, very high temperature process of basically hydrogenating nitrogen to make ammonia, and ammonia is now soluble, right? So ammonium sulfate, right, with that guy blew up the Murrah building, right? Oh, that was ammonium nitrate, right? So ammonium nitrate's a very common ammonium salt, and those are the ammonium salts that are added as a supplement to soluble nitrogen. But a living soil where you have microbes and where you have fungi in the soil that are fixing nitrogen, plant needs those, right? So if you completely grow in aseptic environments where there's no microbes or no bugs, guess what? You have to add all kinds of nitrogen supplement to there because the plant needs nitrogen. So in Dr. T's story today, what you're talking about is measuring the compounds that are coming out of cannabis. One of the things you had said, Jason, which isn't entirely correct, which is that, yes, hemp and cannabis basically take up everything out of the soil, including the bad stuff, including like Chernobyl radiation, including like toxins and forever chemicals. So those compounds end up in the plant. Not necessarily a good idea, right? So what you find if you use pressure-treated lumber timbers, which leach arsenic and chromium and copper into the soil, if you grow weed inside pressure-treated lumber raised beds, you're going to see elevated levels of those elements which leach out of the wood into the soil and ultimately into the plant. So you want to try to grow the plant in the healthiest soil you possibly can. There is something about cannabis roots when they're in the ground because the cannabis plant people evolved under the sun with roots in the ground, not in some indoor grow, Jason, in the middle of Los Angeles, grown in rock wool underneath some Gavita lights.
I'm not a fan of rock wool. I'm not a fan of rock wool. I'm a fan of soil indoors though. Soil bags indoors.
Right. So I'm just saying that the healthiest environment for cannabis is sun-grown cannabis with roots in the ground. Because when you have roots in the ground, what Jenny was talking about in terms of terroir, it has to do with the local microbial population that's in that ground. So if you're growing grapes in the Champagne region of France, the grapes are going to come out different because of the terroir that's in the ground, right? So the microbes that are in the ground are different than Napa Valley or in Sonoma Valley, right? But the other thing that you always have to concern yourself with cannabis is, again, like you said, cannabis basically absorbs anything that's in the soil. So if you're growing in a less than a healthy soil, it's going to be reflected in the plant itself. What you had mentioned at the end there, Jason, was maybe as a stress response, the plant is making THC. So the THC levels are being increased in certain plants that undergo a stress response. And there could be many factors that relate to that. What I do know is that the primary reason why the plant is expressing terpenes, its flavors, is to attract pollinators. And I think through the time course of evolution, cannabis has figured out that these humans are pollinating, right? So I think that I said it before, while it's true that terpenes drew humans to cannabis, it was the cannabinoids that made them stay. So ultimately, the medicine is not just the terpenes, not just the cannabinoids, not just the flavonoids, it's the whole thing together. And I see Dr. T nodding because I think we're both proponents of whole plant medicine. But yeah, the environmental effects do affect the secondary metabolite profiles in the plant. I'm sorry.
And one more thing to add, there may be some relationship between the enzymes that are producing the cannabinoids and the enzymes that are producing the terpenes.
Yes, because that's absolutely right. Because the enzymes that produce the cannabinoid, so a cannabinoid in essence is a terpenophenolic. So there's kind of like a phenolic portion that's made through something called a polyketide synthase, which is part of the basic machinery of all plants. And then there's the terpene portion. So if you're looking at the CBD molecule, the terpene portion is kind of usually on the left, and the phenolic portion, which has got the benzene ring, is usually to the right. So those two residues coming together, and just like Dr. T said, yes, uranyl pyrophosphate is part of the cannabinoid biosynthetic pathway that's made in also terpene pathways that make limonene and pinene and all these other terpenoids that you hear about in cannabis.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Fantastic.
Sorry
stuff
for the
right there.
long-winded explanation.
No, that was great. It was great educational segment right there. But on that, we're gonna roll into our
I
next.
propose using the word branding champagne as a cultivar name.
It
a
is.
strain name.
It is.
Is it?
Yes.
There's a champagne out there already.
There is. Yes, there is. Yes, it is. Bred by Champelli. And on that, we're gonna roll into our next commercial, and we're gonna be right back.
Every legend has a humble beginning.
In world news, leaders are gathering today for the annual summit.
I want to tell you something, Che. The government is watching us through the television.
Oh, John.
Look, right there. They're trying to hack into my TV box.
We're still not able to hack into the TV box, sir.
Ha! But they can't.
I've rebuilt the entire electronic system, and it sends and receives signals through quantum phase space. They'll never get in. Engage target.
In other news, local authorities are investigating a series of strange atmospheric phenomena reported by residents.
Ma'am, we're with the federal government. We need to ask you some questions.
John?
Is there a problem? We've been trying to penetrate your TV box for over 6 months.
I told you they were trying to watch us through the TV, but you didn't believe me.
We can't get in, and to be frank, we have no idea what you've created.
Yeah, that's the point. It's called privacy. You know what the Fourth Amendment guarantees?
All we know is that we can't get inside. We want to know if you can create one for us.
QUX. Even the government wants one.
Oh, man. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And you too will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. And if you haven't already, make sure you check out our 9/11 special video featuring Congressman Kurt Weldon and Congressman Dana Rohrabacher going over all the things that happened or didn't happen on 9/11. And last but not least, if you know someone or are someone that is interested in receiving a presidential pardon, it does not need to be for cannabis, just a presidential pardon in general. I have assembled a top-notch legal team to be able to assist in this, and we can get this done for you, so make sure that you reach out.
Introducing QUX Pay, or simply the Pay app,
where you can pay like it's nobody's business.
Because it isn't. It's what everyone's been clamoring for. It's finally here.
Secure every payment. Your data stays private. QUX will never sell your data for profit, period. Pay friends, family, contacts instantly. No hidden fees. No limits. Spend on the move.
With this patented technology, you can use debit, credit, bank transfer, cash cards, and even crypto completely offline.
Amounts transferred through the Pay app reach their destination instantly. Transfers in a flash. As quick as sending a text. No more waiting around like crypto. Are you ready for the future of payments? The state of the art for money is finally here.
Data privacy and security protocols trusted by militaries and banks worldwide. QUX Pay, the Pay app.
Available as an app and point of sale system, personal and corporate accounts available. Go to QUXPay.com and start using the Pay app today.
Before the show. Oh, yes, and we are back, and we are going to roll right in to Dr. Mark Scialdone out in the great Champlain region, not the Champagne region, but the Champlain region in the great green state of Vermont. He loves to find molecules, find compounds, and sometimes he even gets to name them when they haven't been named already. That's right, it is none other than Dr. Mark Scialdone.
Thank you, Jason.
Yes, sir. Thank you, buddy.
Oh, you're welcome. It's great to be back here again on Friday with my correspondents, Jesse and Dr. T. Hopefully, Jenny will be back soon.
She will.
Of course, the highest Republican in the room.
You know it.
None other than Mr. Jason Beck. So today, an interesting story here is that a study finds cannabis use associated with lower odds of common sinonasal diseases. So sinonasal diseases include chronic rhinosinusitis, allergic rhinitis, and chronic rhinitis. The common theme here is basically inflammation that happens in the nasal cavity, which again causes all kinds of issues about being able to breathe properly. So this study published this week finds that cannabis users may face reduced risks in developing certain sinonasal conditions, including chronic rhinosinusitis, I'll just call that CRS. Allergic rhinitis, we'll call AR. Chronic rhinitis, we'll just call CR. So those are the three conditions, CRS, AR, and CR. The researchers from the Louisiana State University, Texas A&M School of Medicine, and the University of Houston and Houston Methodist Hospital conducted a study published in Laryngoscope Investigative Otology. I have no idea what this is. OTOLARYN. Talleyrand guide. I don't know. Maybe just a study.
Hold on. Did we stump Dr. Mark? Hold on.
Otolaryngology?
Yes. What is that?
Otolaryngology? I don't know. I would have to look it up.
ENT. It's your ear, nose, and throat doctor.
Nose and throat doctor.
All right.
Yeah, laryngitis, right? Like laryngitis.
Yeah, they have to sound so technical.
Yes.
So they examined data from the NIH All of Us database, comparing more than 25,000 cannabis users with 113,000 non-users. So I think this is what we would call a longitudinal study, Dr. T, where they're looking at case studies that are already out there. It's not like they're administering anything. They're just looking at incidence of disease over users. And the findings show a clear pattern. Cannabis use was associated with significantly lower odds of sinonasal disease. Daily cannabis users had a 36% lower likelihood of CRS compared with non-cannabis users. Weekly users saw a 39% reduction in risk. Monthly users had a 20% lower of risk. For AR, odds ratios were 0.64 for daily users, 0.62 for weekly users, and 0.69 for monthly users. Chronic rhinitis, CR, also showed reduced odds, with monthly users having the lowest risk of 0.41. I'm not absolutely sure what these values mean, but I take it that the lower the value, the lower your overall risk. So interestingly, the root of cannabis consumption, whether smoking or non-smoking, I take it that would be like a tincture or a gummy or something like that, did not significantly change the outcomes. Well, that's kind of surprising, right, Dr. T? Because you would expect, again, smoking in general and inhaling a combusted product might be somewhat irritating, causing an inflammatory response. But again, you're introducing compounds that have anti-inflammatory activity, so maybe the anti-inflammatory activity kind of negates the inflammation that you would see in inhaling a combusted product.
And maybe the antibacterial too. Yeah, this is surprising result that, you would think that there'd be more. There's been some evidence of chronic bronchitis, which is lower down in your lungs.
Right.
You would think there would be more sinusitis issues. The fact that there's less when you're having an irritant like smoke go through means that there's got to be some positive things happening from the cannabinoids to counteract that. And they looked at chronic. I wonder if they looked at acute. If they might find higher acute, but chronic is interesting.
Higher acute, but lower chronic for the long-term anti-inflammatory action that the compounds in the smoke have. Yeah, and it's super interesting, Dr. T, when you think about terpenes. Terpenes like alpha-pinene is actually a bronchodilator, right? So it's gonna dilate the bronchial tubes, maybe making more air accessible, easier for pulmonary action. Yeah. So anyway, the researchers concluded by stating that this is the largest study to specifically comment on the association between cannabis use and three of the most common sinonasal diseases, namely AR, CRS, and CR. We found lower odds for AR, CRS, and CR in patients who use cannabis than those who do not, which strengthen the size of our cohorts by incorporating demographics and comorbidity information in our analysis. Routes of consumption did not change incidence of CRS, although the study presents intriguing findings. Caution remains and warranted due to the well-documented significant adverse effects from recreational cannabis use and the caustic nature of inhaling combustion products. The intent of this research is to encourage further investigation into potential anti-inflammatory mechanisms involving cannabinoid receptors in sinonasal diseases. As cannabis use increases amongst Americans, robust molecular and translational research will clarify the risks and possible benefits of cannabinoid use in chronic conditions. So I went to the literature and I pulled the paper, and I think the most important lines from the paper are down where there's talking about discussing the results. Again, I think they were drawing a lot on what's known about inhaling combusted products such as tobacco. And so the authors make this statement. Due to federal restrictions and FDA guidelines for individual cannabinoids, previous research on the role of cannabis on airway disease is limited, especially at a population level. This study accounted for comorbidities, demographics, and usage of frequently to specifically demonstrate lower risk of CRS, AR, and CR when compared to matched controls using diversely represented national database. Route of consumption did not affect CRS incidence, and to our knowledge, this is the first study to demonstrate this finding. So this isn't no longer just a correlation. They are making that leap, Dr. T, here to there is a causation. There's something that's in cannabis that's affecting the risk of these diseases. And this is, I think, an important statement. So given the known detrimental impact of tobacco smoking on sinonasal tissue and inflammation, it was expected that patients who more regularly use cannabis would also have a higher likelihood of having sinonasal inflammatory diseases, especially in those who smoke cannabis. So, however, the present study does not support this hypothesis. I love hearing that they expected one result because they were looking at the tobacco literature and they got something completely different. And again, it didn't support the findings here. So, yeah, I think this is a great
study. You know, when he did the studies at UCLA on the pulmonary conditions, same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that this is significant because I think what we're seeing here is that not all smoking is created equal, that cannabis smoke is very different than tobacco smoke, and that you can't universally say that inhaling a combusted product is going to lead to inflammation in your sinuses, because here clearly this use of cannabis is demonstrating just the opposite.
This is huge.
So that's our story here today. I hope you guys all have a great weekend. The colors are peaking here in Vermont. So get out, look at the colors. If the colors of your leaves are changing, take some photos, enjoy the great outdoors, and make cannabis part of your weekend plans. That's my story here from Vermont. Interested in what my correspondents have to say about this.
This is huge news. I mean, just the fact that they're saying that it doesn't, basically harm your throat, or Dr. T, is this a stretch to say that this also shows how that inhaling cannabis smoke isn't cancer causing as well because of this type of a study?
Well, Tashkin already showed that years ago at UCLA, with a federally funded and state-funded studies. So, that it's just going further and saying now it's not only not bothering your lungs, it's not bothering your sinuses, which is great. I thought the opposite. I thought that there was a higher chance of sinusitis with smoked cannabis. They say their data showed that there's no difference between how you used it too. So whether you were having the edible or smoking didn't seem to matter.
So what that says, Dr. T, is just getting cannabinoids into your system systemically kind of reduces inflammatory response, something that could create inflammation in the sinus.
This is incredible.
I've always noticed, and it's funny that the last story and this story, I didn't get to comment on last story, but both of these stories have something in common, and that is that farmers are always way ahead of the curve when it comes to these types of things. Farmers have known for a long time, and I think a lot of us have had this experience, that cannabis it clears out your sinuses a lot like horseradish or spice. The right really high quality cannabis, when you take a hit of it, a lot of times you'll have a runny nose and things will clear out and you'll feel much more open. And so anecdotally, we have this anecdotal evidence that goes on that farmers rag on and on about how cannabis is good for your lungs and good for your sinuses, and they've been talking about it for dozens of years, if not a lot longer. And the same thing with the soil health and the soil impacting the type of cannabis that you're having and the quality of the high. Farmers have known this for eons. And it's funny that it takes us so long to catch up and figure out that the farmers already knew this.
This is, man, I wonder, does this, would this also mean that like singers don't have to worry about smoking cannabis, about losing their voice and different things over time? Would this equate to that too?
I think it could. But I think that it's much more involved than that. I don't know if the reason why people lose their voice is because there's all kinds of issues that happen down in the larynx, which is the voice box. This is more they're talking about up in the sinuses. So people who have sinus congestion, I mean, sometimes allergic response will elicit, again, you start tearing up, you can't breathe, right? You get all stuffed up. And so I think we're talking about what triggers that type of inflammatory response up in the nasals. I'm not sure it's connected to the voice box, but it's all connected, right?
It's all connected. It's all connected.
Well, I think one more thing too is that I love what you said. I don't know if it was Dr. T or Dr. Mark, but I love that you alluded to that not all smoking is the same. And I think that in our history, we have thought that all smoking is bad. And that's one of those correlation causation things that we've had in our culture and in our belief system. And it turns out that not all smoking is bad. And I think that once we dive into this really deeply, again, the science is going to catch up to what the farmers already know, that cannabis oils, however you put them into your body, are good for your body, good for your lungs, and good for your brain, and good for your skin, and good for your organs. So the way that we get those cannabis oils into our body doesn't really matter. It's all good, and it's all for some reason our body is able to use these oils, unlike tars from tobacco and other things that are bad.
Yeah, I think that's the main point of this, is that it doesn't matter about the method of administration. You'd think that, again, smoking would, give this kind of response, but I think this is what Dr. T was saying about the Tashkin study, which is that he showed that smoking cannabis lowered your risk for lung disease versus people who don't smoke anything
at all. That's right.
Not tobacco smoking. It's people who don't smoke anything at all. So that tells you that when you smoke cannabis, you're bringing in compounds in your body that are basically protecting your body from lung disease.
Yep.
Fascinating stuff. And on that, we're going to roll into our final commercial, and we are going to be right back.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
Oh, yes, and we are back, you guys, and we are going to roll right into Mr. Jesse Barney. He's the founder of Barney Design Co., a company that can take your brand to the highest plateaus, higher than you ever imagined, and help make sure that you engage with your customers in ways that you never even imagined you can engage with. That's right, is none other than Mr. Jesse Barney.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate the intro. My story comes out of the Florida Phoenix this morning, the Phoenix Flyer. Bill would protect public employees who use medical marijuana by Mitch Perry. Legislation has again been filed to protect public employees who are qualified medical marijuana patients in Florida. Broward County Democratic State Senator Tina Polsky's proposal, SB 136, would prohibit a public employer from taking adverse personnel action against an employee or a job applicant for their use of medical marijuana if the employee is a qualified patient. There are exceptions if the public employer can establish that the use of cannabis is impairing the worker's ability to perform his or her job duties or responsibilities. The proposal also says that if the public employer does have a drug testing policy and an employee or job applicant tests positive for THC, the employer must provide the employee or applicant written notice within 5 days about their right to provide an explanation for or contest the positive test. Senator Polsky has filed similar legislation that hasn't moved in the GOP-controlled legislature in recent years. Some of her earlier versions encompassed an all medical marijuana patients around the state, not just those who are public employees. Medical cannabis is legal in 38 states. About half of those states have anti-discrimination policies for medical cannabis patients, according to the National Conference of State Legislatures. The NCSL reports that significantly fewer states require employers to carve out accommodations for these patients. There are almost 900,000 qualified medical marijuana patients in Florida, according to the Office of Medical Marijuana Use. That's the most in the nation. Polsky has also filed a bill, SB 130, to prohibit courts from denying or restricting certain parental rights based solely on a parent's status as a qualified medical marijuana patient. It would also prohibit the presumption of neglect or child endangerment based solely on a parent's status as a qualified medical marijuana patient. Well, Senator Polsky, I applaud you. It's this kind of work on the fringes of protecting the small edges of our rights as cannabis users, especially medical marijuana, people who are registered in their state under their medical marijuana program. They should be protected. Whether you're a parent or an employee, your rights should be protected in those areas, and you're doing God's work. I really applaud you. So thank you very much. And this is just a great story, great news, good news. I hope that this goes through and that this happens, that they pass SB 136 and SB 130. Tina Polsky's doing great work. And I'll toss it back to my fellow correspondents and see what they think.
I love this story. I think this is great. I mean, to protect employees from drug tests, from being fired because of medical cannabis use. I'm all in favor of this. This is a must pass bill in my opinion.
This is a must pass bill.
Yeah.
And hopefully Florida gets on it.
Yeah.
Would have been nice to have Michael Minardi on to talk about it, but maybe we can bring it back up on Monday.
Yeah, he'll be here on Monday. This is very possible. What do you think about this, Dr. Mark? I mean, can you imagine how many people that are smart and really capable of operating their positions get fired just because of a cannabis use, and then those businesses lack because they have to hire someone else that's not as capable as the person who consumed cannabis?
Yeah, I mean, it has nothing to do with your ability to, meet expectations on a job. We all know that. So, that said, I mean, I don't want to smell just like you don't want the pilot flying your plane to be all drunk on weed or drunk on alcohol. Probably not a good idea. Put somebody stoned in the cockpit or, on the other side of an operating, table with a scalpel.
I mean, Dr. Mark, you don't really have airliners having road rage or what I'm saying, flight rage. Like, so, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, they all get drug tested anyway, I think.
Yeah. Yeah,
well, I think there was that caveat in this bill that if the employer can prove that the job itself may be something that you can't do, like flying or something like that, if there was THC in your blood system, then you're not going to be able to have that job as an employee, and that makes sense, right? Like you said, I don't want a pilot of my plane who's eating a 50 milligram edible in the morning.
No, he's going to fall asleep.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not something I want. I don't think anybody wants that, no matter how experienced you are with weed. That's just a dangerous thing to do.
I'm not sure if it's really all that dangerous in all reality. A lot of these planes pretty much practically fly themselves. You just have to enter in the right coordinates. So I don't think it's really that big of a thing. I like people like to use that as a common as a common example, but I would say that
So you would be okay with your pilot having taken a 50 milligram edible before he got in the plane?
I mean, I could think of worse things he could have taken.
No, that's not the question.
That's what I'm saying. That's my point.
Would you be okay with it?
Sure, whatever. I'm not going to worry about that. That's not.
You wouldn't worry about it.
No, I'm not going to worry about it.
You'd get on the plane if you knew he had taken a 50 milligram edible before getting in the plane.
No problem. Yeah, because I would. You know why? Because then I know I'm going to be able to smoke on that plane. 100%, bro.
What if it's THCP though? What if it's THCP? And
this is the thing is that when you have a pilot, you always have a co-pilot too. So you know what I'm saying? If one of them's sober, one of them's on a 50 milligram edible, I'm good. I just need one of them to stay up. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? And hey, I'm fine with that.
I love your dance.
That's just the practicality of the matter, Jesse. You know what I mean? It's just the practicality. I've flown before with people. You know what I'm saying? Like to where I was their co-pilot, and so it's not really, there's a lot of stuff that's going on, but it's not. Once you know exactly what's happening, it's not that difficult to do.
Yeah, that's one thing. There's a few jobs technical in the world that I just,
it's just like running a soundboard, Jesse, in a recording studio.
No,
same thing.
It's not, because you can make a mistake on a soundboard and nobody dies.
You can make a mistake on a plane and no one's going to die too. No one's even going to notice. You just flip the switch back. It's that easy.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not like all of a sudden you hit the wrong. It's not like all of a sudden you're going to hit the wrong switch and all of a sudden the plane's going to start crashing to the ground. That's not reality.
Or what if you forget something?
Well, I mean, the one thing you don't want to forget is to put the landing gear down when you're landing. That's the one thing you don't want to forget.
What if you do?
You're not going to forget that, Jesse. You're not going to forget that. No, stop it, bro. You're gaslighting people right now. Stop the ridiculousness. You're not going to forget.
I'm not gaslighting anything.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I'm self-aware that if I eat a 50 milligram edible as a very, very astute stoner, my brain doesn't function the same. I might be better at some things. I might be better at focusing on certain things. Like I can play music better at focusing on one thing, but I lose track of everything else.
Flying a plane is one thing.
Tunnel.
Flying a plane is one thing.
I don't necessarily want my pilot to have that kind of tunnel vision. I want them to be more aware of more things, not hyper focused on one thing.
I'm just saying, I would get on that plane. I wouldn't have no problem with it.
You go for it. I would.
Yeah. And then when we land, we'll be like, oh, bro, it was the best flight ever, Jesse. We're just going to call and tell you about it, take pictures on the landing strip together.
I don't think
you know
the
what I mean?
FAA or airplane companies should approve their pilots to be having high doses of THC in their system. No, thank you.
I'm fine with that. I'm just saying, it wouldn't bother me. I wouldn't care.
They might as well have a couple cocktails too, then.
Well, you have any thoughts on this, Dr. Mark?
Let's have a couple of cocktails, smoke a little opium, and have a few joints and eat some edibles.
Is Dr. T still with us? Dr. T, they're advertising for the crossfading of pilots, Dr. T.
He's gone.
Oh, man. Well, this was fun. You have any final thoughts on this, Dr. Mark, before we move on?
I'm good.
Okay. All right.
Now meth. I see a comment. Now meth. That's
no way, bro. No way. No way, bro. No way. They have no, because they jitter too much, bro. They're gonna hit the wrong thing and not know what they hit. They're way too jittery. No, I'm not good with that one.
The Germans did it.
Jeez. Well, speaking of all this transportation talk, you guys, I have one final story that's all about transportation because the Ohio Senate passes a bipartisan bill updating marijuana OVI standards in a unanimous vote. That's right. The Ohio Senate has unanimously passed a bill that would overhaul how the state handles marijuana-related operating a vehicle while impaired cases, better known as OVI, you guys. Operating vehicle impairment. Okay, just so you're wondering what OVI is for. It's not OVO. Senate Bill 55, filed in January by a bipartisan group of 17 lawmakers, sets clear limits for THC in a driver's blood, urine, or oral fluid that can be used to presume impairment. It also allows courts to consider additional evidence, such as field sobriety tests and expert testimony, rather than relying solely on chemical results, addressing long-standing concerns that drivers could face convictions based on residual marijuana in their system, even if they were not impaired at the time. The measure, approved by a 28-0 vote, amends multiple sections of the revised code to bring marijuana impairment standards in line with current testing practices, and it establishes clear thresholds of 25 nanograms per THC per milliliter of urine. That's 2 to less than 5 nanograms per milliliter of whole blood and 5 nanograms per milliliter of oral fluid that can be used to presume impairment. However, the law makes clear that these levels are not absolute proof, and instead they create a rebutable presumption, giving judges and juries discretion to weigh all relevant evidence, including whether a person's behavior or performance showed actual impairment. Backers say the legislation provides a more balanced framework that prioritizes public safety without unfairly penalizing marijuana users who may test positive long after consumption, and by updating evidentiary rules and aligning them with scientifically recognized benchmarks, the state aims to reduce ambiguity in how marijuana OVI cases are handled, you guys. The proposal now moves to the House of Representatives for consideration. Well, look at this. This actually sounds somewhat reasonable, I think, overall. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with these limits. I think 5 nanograms is far too little and whatnot. But, whatever these people want to, you know what I'm saying? these people want to do. You know, it sounds reasonable. The fact that they've overridden that is just the baseline of impairment. In fact, saying that, hey, you know, we're going to base it off of other information such as how a person is acting and things like that, which I think is a much more commonsensical way to determine impairment or not. But what do you guys think about this?
It was a funny pair with the last story.
See how I do this, Jesse?
No, I understand. Yeah. I do see what you did there. Yeah. And there is nuance here.
Oh boy, here we go.
I do see the nuance that this is bringing up, and it does tail in with the last story.
Would you call it a dovetail?
It dovetails. But I didn't do the dove part because I just wanted the tail.
I bet.
So it does dovetail with the last story because there is, and we all know this to be true, those of us who are pro-weed people, and I mean that by professional. Mm-hmm. The more you use cannabis, the more you can use and not be impaired.
Mm-hmm.
And we also all know that the first time someone takes a 50 milligram edible when they've never eaten edibles before, they will more than likely be very impaired. Now, there's a spectrum between those two things of being someone who has a ton of cannabinoids in your system all the time, and therefore your receptors are full most of the time, and so your body doesn't respond in a crazy manner to a sudden flood of new cannabinoids in the system, like someone who has never had cannabinoids in their system or has had very little and suddenly gets a flood. There's a spectrum between those two things. And the problem here is that we have no way of individually identifying what your level of impairment is with your receptor level of being full of these cannabinoids. So how would we tell on an individual level whether or not your receptor system and your endocannabinoid system is fully functioning or highly functioning, I should say? And so you're not going to be as high or impaired as someone who has just started smoking weed or just started consuming weed. That's a very difficult thing to do. Right now, I don't think we have any way to do that. I think maybe in the future, technology and science will be able to get to a point of the knowledge of being able to personally and individually identify with each person what their ECS is doing and what kind of relationship they have with how many micrograms or milligrams per milliliter of blood. But right now, it's a shot in the dark. So at the end of the day, what they're doing is a shot in the dark. They don't really know. It doesn't work for every individual. It might work for some individuals, but that's about it.
What do you say, Dr. Mark? You're the scientist up here.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, your tolerance has a lot to do with your so-called endocannabinoid tone, and I think that your use habits are like I know this for myself that, you know, if I don't use for a couple of days and I come back, you know, like rip a dab, yeah, you get that high school high again that, you know, you really almost can only achieve by dialing down your tolerance. Because if you're, you know, consuming, you know, a lot every day, what happens is that the response in your body is to basically dial down the amount of CB1 receptors that your body actually expresses, right? Because there's such a prevalence of cannabinoid presence. So it's like, oh, okay, we don't need as many receptors. And that's where, again, you'd be like, well, shit, now, you know, where one hit got me high a week ago. Now that I've been smoking constantly since then, now I need 10 hits to get where you are straight, right? So, no, I think it has a lot to do with how your body adjusts to, you know, different use rates of cannabinoids, right?
Interesting. I think that this is a good start for them in Ohio. You know what I mean? Because they have the legal precedents as far as the 5 nanograms. A lot of other municipalities have signified that. I think that's way too low. Just my own personal opinion. I think that's way too low. But the fact that they're bringing in the common sense and not saying that nanogram level is the absolute end all be all of whether or not impairment is, and the fact that the law enforcement are going to have discretion in regards to this, I think is a great thing, because ultimately that's what I think that we need. I think it's all more of a commonsensical type of approach of like, hey, you know what, if you're mumbling your words and you can't speak, and you know what I'm saying, your motor coordination is visibly impaired, then yes, of course you shouldn't be driving. Okay, but the average person that consumes cannabis and drives, that is not the case. You know what I mean? They're not impaired to that degree, and I just think that this is a good start to them finding something that actually works for Ohioans. I think this is a good start.
Well, I don't even understand what that really means. A milliliter is a very small amount. So 5 nanograms in a milliliter, like what does that actually mean in a liter? What does that actually mean in your whole body? I don't know what that is.
It's a ratio,
Dr. Mark. Well, yeah, I understand that, but a milliliter is a very
in a liter, right?
Right,
There's
exactly.
1,000 milliliters in a liter.
Well, it's metrics day today, you guys.
1,000.
It's the metrics. It's metrics day.
Be two. So the multiplier between 5 and 1,000 is 200, right? So you're gonna have basically 200 of those in a liter.
Well, if there was 5 nanograms per milliliter in a liter, wouldn't it be 5,000 nanograms? Which would be what, 5 micrograms?
No. So if you did you say you have 5 nanograms in 1 milliliter? Is that right?
Yeah,
correct. So in a liter, it would be 5,000 nanograms, which is equal to what?
5,000 nanograms, which is 5 micrograms.
And is 5 micrograms in a liter a considerable amount? I don't know what that is. 5 micrograms of THC in a liter of blood?
No, okay. So if you're talking about a liter of blood and you're talking about free THC and not a THC metabolite, it's a different thing, right? So when they measure, when you get a blood test done or when you get a urinalysis test done, they're not just looking at THC, but they're looking at the metabolites, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that confuses.
Well, I mean, it's after consumption. So if it's in the blood and it's after smoking or eating it, yeah, it's been converted. It's in your body as an active.
Yeah,
THC.
but isn't the cutoff for intoxication something like, I don't know, 5 nanograms per liter, or is it something like that? But some absurdly small amount.
Yeah, it is. It's a small amount.
That's what this is. It's 5 nanograms per milliliter. That's what they're saying. And I'm wondering what that really means. Like, I don't.
Jesse's trying to understand what that equates. Does that equate to like 1 joint, 2 joints? Like what's the equation? That's what Jesse is trying to get at, Dr. Mark.
Okay, so if like let's make numbers real round. So if you're using just like trim and it's 10%, and like let's say 1 joint is exactly what, 1 or 5 gram, or let's say it's
1 gram. Let's just say a joint is 1 gram. Let's keep it. Joint is 1 gram.
1 gram joint.
The joint is 1 gram. And you have 10% THC in there, that means that the amount of THC is going to be 100 milligrams, right? So 100 milligrams is going to be in that joint if it's a 10% joint and it's only 1 gram, right?
Okay.
That confuse you?
No, we're following. We're following.
Okay. That's easy.
Right.
Well, what does that convert to in the body?
Well, yeah, so when you smoke, right? And you bring that into your body, it's going to be absorbed as THC delta 9 through your blood-brain barrier. Like when you feel high right away, that's because it's getting into your brain right away where your CB1s are. But if you take it orally, it's going to go into your stomach and now it's going to be metabolized into 11-hydroxy and norcarboxy. So it depends on, the metabolic profile. As it turns out, 11-hydroxy is more potent than THC itself, right? So it's an apples and oranges kind of thing. It's like,
yeah, this sounds like a made up thing. Like, I don't know. I understand that 100 milligrams of THC would be in a 1 gram joint. That makes total sense. I would think that you'd have to basically have a mask on that contains all the smoke, and you smoke the entire joint and breathe all the smoke and not let any of it go anywhere.
Not let any of it go out.
And then now you theoretically have 100 milligrams of THC in your system.
Yeah, but you know that on the inside of that mask, there's going to be some residue left.
Right, you're going to lose some no matter what. So whatever.
Yes.
Right. So, but in a normal situation, you lose what, 50% of it? Something like that.
Oh, I don't know. There's people who've studied
a lot.
this,
like a lot of the smoke goes out into the atmosphere. It doesn't all go out into your lungs, and your lungs doesn't absorb all of it either on every hit.
That's right. And where the joint is actually combusting, you're burning the THC. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Some of it's getting destroyed. Right.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's my point. Is like on that, I don't know what the exact scientific amount of an average 1 gram joint that's 10% is going to actually make it into your body. I would imagine it's about 20 to 30 milligrams of the THC actually ends up to your body if you smoke the whole joint yourself.
Right.
And what does 20 to 30 milligrams of THC in your body equal in nanograms per milliliter of blood?
Good question.
That's what
are you
but isn't that
just about
that's going to be different for everybody, right? Because it's going to be based off their metabolism rate.
It's their metabolism, it's their size, it's their
things are metabolized, but it's also going to be based on how much of that is actually stored in fat, because it's very fat.
So it's going to depend on their BMI.
It very well could, yes.
Yeah, this just seems like a very non-scientific thing to say.
On their BMI, but think about it this way, Jason. If they just ate like a steak, or if they have fatty foods in their stomach, now the cannabinoids are going to bind to the fat and be expelled in your waste.
Yeah, like if you just ate a big old plate of bacon or something, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Right.
Oh man,
which I try not to do.
Yeah, Jesse, we're not going to get to an answer on this question, Jesse.
There is no answer. I think the point is
there's too many variables.
You have a scientist right in front of us. It's like both of us. We know what we're talking about. We're not stupid people, and you can't really get to an answer. That's the point. Is that this is an arbitrary figure that someone came up with,
and again,
some average person. And that average person doesn't exist.
And again, Jesse, hold on. And again, this is exactly why I say this is the first piece of state legislation that involves these numbers. There's a lot of states that have 5 nanograms as their threshold, but this is the first one that I've seen that put a commonsensical approach to it afterwards, saying that is not the baseline basis for impairment. It's what they can use as a guideline, and then they use the commonsensical approach of how the person is reacting, how the person is acting, how the person is communicating, and their movements and all of that type of stuff, which to me makes much more sense in regards to determining impairment. And so that's what they're saying is that this is the first piece of legislation that I've seen that has incorporated that into it, instead of just saying flat line, hey, you got 5 nanograms in your system, you're intoxicated, and take it to court. This is giving this provides a whole nother layer of self-defense in this issue, and I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I mean, as a policy, that's better than other policies.
Exactly. That's all I'm trying to say. Yeah,
it's still not perfect, and I think it's impossible to get to perfect.
Yeah, we're not. We're not going to get to perfect until we have little weed leaves on our driver's licenses, because we passed the test to say that we're okay to drive while intoxicated on cannabis.
Well, intoxicated may not be the right word then.
Well, I think
right.
And look. 5 to 10 years from now, how many people will actually be driving their cars?
It's a whole nother point there too, Jesse.
Aspect.
Yes, and on that, on that, we're gonna wrap this up. Thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst for helping us keep the lights on over here, and thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day, and Cloud Media partners Elias and Kai are somewhere in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.